So that's more or less how people entertain themselves. They didn't have TV, they didn't have iPods, and they actually played games. And another good thing to do with apples are great. You can do so much with apples, just like potatoes. No wonder the Irish had such a good time.
I know.
Yeah. So the other thing you can do with apples, if you have some kind of problem, whether it's health or whether it's emotions, you slice an apple in half. You put, whether it's a sickness, say, okay, I don't want this sore throat or whatever it may be, or stomach ache anymore. You put it in the apple, or say if you have some emotional issue you want to get rid of, or whatever, you want to quit something, you put it in one side of the apple. You get the other side, the clean side, put them together, you dig a hole, you bury it, and then you ask the earth energies to help it along. So it's a blessing, more or less. It can't hurt. And one more thing about the apple, because this is another thing you can do with your apple tonight. You can take it home and put it on your pillow. It's nice if you have a fluffy pillow. Put it on your pillow, and the dream you have will have some influence on the following month. So maybe ask the question before you go to bed, and if your intent is positive, it just may come about. Let me see, I think there's probably a few more things about Halloween and trick-or-treating and all of that, but in the end it was all about giving thanks, protection, living life and love, and just warmth of sharing with other humans and beings, living or dead. So that's what it was all about, and this was the feast of that time. And the next time there was feasting, especially back in the day, would be Yule, which is December 22nd. Usually the 21st or the 22nd, depending on the moon. So in this next year, it's going to be very interesting because everybody's heard of 2012. So it's on, the 12th month on the 22nd. It all figures into Yule, and going into that season of winter and rebirth. So it's all about rebirth. So if you want to go back to the Celtic, if you want to go back to the Mayans, the Incas, and a lot of the other cultures, they have a lot of the similar stories. It's just like plays, but each one has a different name. So I'll leave you with that, and I will pass you on to Christine.
Thank you. Thank you. I bring to you the traditions and the beliefs of the Celtic. The Celtic believed that there was no such thing as a scary ghost. The Celtic believed that they did not have to call on them on ceremony or rituals. The Celtic believed that the spirits were walking right next to you. Do you believe that? The Celtic believed that the spirits, once you die, for a while you're on the other side, you are the very same as you are in life. As you are in life, so are you in death. The Celtic beliefs were very much like the pagans, with a very deep connection to their ancestors. So you can imagine that they probably believed that great-grandma was right here, and they could learn from their ancestors. Now, like I said, they did not believe in the threat or the scariness of spirits. They did believe that they were right next to you. I ask you again, do you believe? Do you believe that the spirits are right next to you? Because I'll tell you, they are communicating with you all the time. Little subtle things that can happen to you that you might take for granted. A little poke in the back. A little shiver going down your spine. A little tingling in your forehead. Because they say that as long as there is a spirit that is at arm's length of you, you can feel their energy in your third eye. You just need to open up. Have you heard ringing in your ears? That just seems to move in intensity. These, they say, are the spirits that walk just outside on the other side of the wall. And coming to Halloween, that veil gets thinner. So you can imagine that they probably take for granted that time of year that the veil is thinner. The Celts believed in about 400 gods and goddesses, and I'm not going to go through them all. So we're just going to bring up one, okay? I would like to talk about Morrigan. Morrigan is a Celtic goddess. She was known to be related to red and black. So this is why I'm dressed like this. This is my Morrigan getup. She was represented by a crow. So if you see a crow, you might think that her spirit might be around. She was represented by the number 3. So yes, the maiden, the mother, and the crow. Yes. So this is why it's very similar to the pagans. The Celts believed in the triple goddess belief. So I would like to, because we need to do some protection before our seance, I'm going to call on Morrigan. Okay? I'm going to light the light. I have my crystals and my stones in here. And my crow's feather. And I will cast the spell. Cast the circle. Morrigan, come to us. I call on your inspiration. I call on your strength. I call you from the dark cave. And I call you here into our circle of light. Come into our hearts. And as we call on the spirits that come forward for you and to communicate with you, I ask Morrigan to allow for a positive flow in activity and to hold all those with ill intent at bay. We thank you, Morrigan. And I pass it on to Morrigan.
Thousands of years, the indigenous peoples of this planet have been communicating with spirit. They did this for many reasons. They did it to receive counsel and advice. They did it in celebration and in ceremony. They did it for healing and to honor and acknowledge their ancestors, the changing seasons and the elements. They used different methods of doing this. They journeyed and they went on vision quests. They used sacred items such as feathers, bulls and bones, and the sacred pipe. They drummed and they gazed into the fire and into the water. Many cultures believe that there's more to life than just what we can see. That we are all connected. And we are not alone. That we are surrounded by energy and spirit, protecting us and guiding us, and giving us strength. Such as nature spirits, fairies, the spirits of the elements, and the spirits of the directions. Animal spirit teachers and guides, and the spirits of the ancestors. And I believe that as we deepen our connection to spirit, we deepen our connection to ourselves, to each other, and to all things. And from my experience, spirit is drawn to acknowledgement, celebration, music, American song. Step softly on this sacred ground, breath of air the only sound, so much wisdom to be found, hair upon the serpent mound, grandmother cedar, ancient oak, sycamore, silent host, buckeye, walnut, hickory, spirit speaks in rustling leaves, spirit speaks in rustling leaves. Oh. And I'll pass it on to Leanne. The history of the North American Seance began in 1847. The Maggie and John Fox moved to Hydesdale, New York, which is near Rochester, New York, and they rented a cottage, which is here. The cottage, many tenants before them had experienced noises and rapping sounds, which became frightful. In December of 1947, Kate, Maggie, and Leah, the daughters of John and Margaret, moved into the cottage and experienced nothing. And it was then in March of 1848 that they began to hear the sounds of noises, furniture being dragged around out of the cottage. And the parents went around to see if they could find where the sounds were coming from, and they weren't able to distinguish where the sounds came from. So young Kate, who was the youngest of the three daughters, had gone and experimented. She started doing rapping sounds, and she noticed that the rapping, she could hear a repeat of the sound that she was bringing forward. And she decided with her sister Maggie to sit and together and try the experiment of rapping once. Ask the spirit if they would respond to rap of once for yes, and to keep silent for if the answer was that of no. So they sat together and did this process, and in the process they discovered that there was the spirit of a 31-year-old man who was a peddler. This peddler had been murdered for his goods and his money, and was said to have been buried in the basement. This is what information they brought forward. So this spread out into the neighborhood, and they then called it a spirit circle in the beginning. And the spirit circle was what they formed and tried these methods, and also brought lettering and whatnot in to give them more better responses. And from this period, that's how this grew into what we today call a seance. In the year 1904, there were young children decades after the Foxes had left the residence, that young girls were in the basement playing, and they noticed between the mortar that there was a skeletal fragments as they could see. They took them out and they found the skeletal remains and a small tin box with this man believed to be the peddler. In the year 1955, the cottage burns, and the remains today are in that of Cassadaga, New York, in Lilydale, what is left of it, and hence the oldest spiritual community in the world. So this is the history of a seance in North America.
Now the girls